Hey everybody, I thought I would show you guys what I'm working on in a gardening project today, and you're going to have to excuse the popping and booming noises in the background. There's a target range not too far from here, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, warm, sunny day, so everybody's out target practicing today, and it's going to be going on until sundown, so there's nothing I can do about it. But as you can see, I'm enjoying the day myself on my porch. I've got a little bit of stuff growing over here. These are all the little pots are thyme plants that are really taking off. The bigger plant to the left, that is Italian parsley. And in the big white pot, those are some wild violets. I ordered some bare root plants from a woman on eBay to try to start them, and they've all taken, and they're putting out new growth, and one even made a flower, so I'm super happy about that. But back on to what I'm doing today. Today I am transplanting some things out of my Aerogarden seed starter trays. As you can see, some of the plants grow faster and bigger than others, and you really have to, I should have done this last week, but I just didn't. But once they get big, they start shading and crowding out the smaller plants. So I need to take these out and transplant them so that everything else can get some light and get some airflow. And then I'm going to just replant the little pods that have the bigger plants. And this is my little scribblings in my notebook. So this is something called cinnamon basil, this row. And cinnamon basil is kind of like Thai basil. It has a little bit spicier of a fragrance and flavor, but also sweetness. It really does smell kind of cinnamony, and it just has a beautiful smell. And then next to it here, these are Thai basil, a row of Thai basil. And then in the back right here are a couple Genovese basil, just your basic Italian basil. These are some eggplant plants called Fairy Tale, and these are some eggplant plants called Little Fingers. And then up in the middle, trying to grow, I have some other random basils. And in this Aerogarden, these are sage. I'm going to take these out and replant sage. And up here in the front, these are peppermint, and I'm going to take those peppermint out too. And I think everything else in here is about to sprout, so that's all that's coming out of that one. So that's my chore for right now, is to take out some of these big seedlings that are starting to crowd things out, and I'll show you guys what I get done. Alright, so I'm going to try to show you how I take these seedlings out of the Aerogarden. And I just have this little tool. I got these little garden tools that came with, I don't remember what I ordered, but they came free with something gardening I ordered on Amazon. So what I want to do is take this and just kind of gently loosen that plug, okay? Kind of get it in there and loosen that plug. And then see if I can gently rock and pull that seed pod out, okay? So you can see those roots coming out, and I'm very gently lifting it so I tear up the roots as little as possible. And a few of the roots are going to get left behind, and that doesn't hurt anything. So this is what a ready to transplant Aerogarden seedling looks like, okay? So this is your plant. This is that little sponge that comes with the Aerogarden, and you can see how all the roots grow out and then to the bottom. It does not hurt these little plants to expose the roots to air for a short amount of time. You wouldn't want them to dry out. So since I'm just getting ready to transplant them, it doesn't matter that I have them sitting on my table for a few minutes. If it's going to take you longer than about 15-20 minutes to get to them, I'd say put them in a glass of water. But yeah, it really doesn't hurt them at this part of the transplanting process. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I actually plant these little seed pods, alright? So I have my pot with just some potting soil in it, and I need to make a hole to put the little sponge with the plant and the roots in. So I don't have a tool to do this, I just use my finger, but you need to make a hole in the pot as deep as the little sponge. So, alright, I've got my little hole in the dirt. So the next step, and it's hard to do this with one hand, but what I like to do is just gently kind of wrap the roots around the sponge. Okay, see how I'm just very gently tucking those roots under there? All right, and then I'm going to tuck that last little piece of root in, and I'm gonna center that. All right, I'm trying to do this one-handed, y'all, so and you want to tuck your dirt around. Okay, that is a transplanted plant from the Aerogarden. That's exactly how you do it if you're going to use the seed starting system. And you just need to be careful. These little stems are fragile, so you just need to take a little bit of care when you're working with your baby plants, and just kind of gently pat the dirt around them and get them good and seeded. All right, dust some of the extra dirt off. It's not going to hurt anything. It's good, clean potting soil. You don't need to do this with seed starting medium. I just have basic potting soil. So that's all you need to transplant if you're going to transplant them into these little starter pots. So that's how you do it. Okay, so I've got my little plants, my little seedlings transplanted into their starter pots, and they'll stay in these for about a week or so. And I didn't harden these off, which is what you're really supposed to do when you transplant plants, is you take it outside for a few hours at a time every day until you get them to 24 hours outside. But herbs tend to not be very fragile, at least these herbs, and we've got really mild weather right now, so there's really not much of a difference temperature-wise between outside and inside. So I just leave them to where they're not getting full harsh sun all day, and they do fine. So they're going to stay in these little pots for about a week or so, and then they're going to go out into permanent pots in the garden. So now I need to see what gets replanted, and of course everything, and then clean up the top of my Aerogardens. Of course everything I transplanted gets replanted, and then I need to check some of these little pods. I've got a flashlight to help look into them. Like, I don't think you'll be able to see into this, but see if there's little sprouts in these. And this one you can definitely see. See, there's a little bit of green in there. That one doesn't need to be replanted. And can't really tell in those yet, but these are all coming up. That one, can you see that little bit of green? Okay, so that's my next step, is to see what needs to be replanted and what has something sprouting in it already. And then I'll show you how I replant these. All right, so the next step is to get my sponges ready. So I needed 12 sponges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 11 in this little bowl of water. I'm going to take one more, and this is what they look like when they're dehydrated, okay? And you have to put them in water to soften them up. It doesn't take that long. I've seen it written where it said, oh, you need to let them soak for overnight. You don't. You only need to let them soak for a few minutes. And these that have only been soaking for a few minutes, they're already ready. So you just want to soak your seeds for a few minutes or soak your sponges for a few minutes while you get your seeds together. Okay? And I will show you once I get my seeds together. And this is what the pack looks like. I buy these off of Amazon. They also sell them through the Aerogarden website. It's just easier for me to get them through Amazon. So I've also used some of the replacements that are not Aerogarden, and I'll show you these. This brand, I also get these on Amazon. They're both just as good. These actually are a little bit higher quality, to be quite honest, but they both work just fine. These are a little bit less expensive and a little bit higher quality. You can get them in a bigger pack. This is an 80 pack. I've bought 100 pack before, and these, I can't remember how many were in this pack. 50. So I get the Aerogarden brand ones in 50. And like I said, it doesn't matter. They're both the same. So I will show you guys when I get to planting seeds. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I plant the little seeds, okay? And these are Genovese basil seeds, and I'm planting 5 in each little pod because these seeds are from last year and they may not have the highest germination rate anymore, and I want to make sure they're going to germinate for me. So I'm planting, normally I would plant 2 to 3 seeds, but I'm planting a little bit extra this time. So what you do is you're going to need a little tool to place your seeds. Normally I'd use a toothpick with small seeds. This is all I have outside with me today, so I'm going to use this little tool. Okay? And you want to take one of your sponges, okay, and you want to squeeze the extra water out of it. You don't need it. It's already softened. It'll soak up plenty of water in the Aerogarden. Alright, normally I'd set this in a little cup. I didn't bring anything out today, so I'm just going to stick it in the spring of my notebook. So what you want to do is you want to take your little tool, whatever tool you're using, and you want to slightly dampen the tip of it, okay? You don't want to get it super wet, but you want to dampen the tip of it. All right, and that's going to make it easier to pick up seeds, right? See, the seeds stick to it. And then you walk them over and you just kind of swirl this around and place them in. Now, you don't really have to worry about the seeds falling through to the bottom because the little hole in the seed starting pod is only about a 1/2 inch deep. Okay, so you're going to want to dampen the little tip of your tool. Okay, pick up a seed, drop it in. All right, see if that's okay. Dampen your tool, pick up a seed, drop it in. Okay, now once you've got your seeds planted, you want to take it over to your Aerogarden, all right, and drop it in its slot. Now, one thing I want to say, you can tell there's 2 different types of sponges in this. You can see the difference. You can totally see the difference. The ones that are nice and smooth and fill the little cells, those are not the Aerogarden sponges, okay? Those are the off-brand sponges. My one complaint about the Aerogarden seed starting system, when you buy their sponges, they don't have great quality control. Like here's one I just picked out of the water. You see how creased up that is? Sometimes it makes it hard to plant your seeds, and sometimes it makes it a little hard for the seeds to sprout out if it's creased completely shut. So yeah, you can tell which ones. The ones that are perfect in filling the little cells, not Aerogarden. The ones that are imperfect and don't quite fill the cells, Aerogarden. But I mean, as far as function, they both work fine unless the top isn't creased completely shut. So it really doesn't matter here or there. So I just wanted to point that out because it's like my one complaint about the Aerogarden system. So I will come back when I'm done. All right, so I am done with my gardening chores for the day. I've got all of these little seedlings transplanted into starter pots. The Thai basil, cinnamon basil, Genovese basil, some sage and some peppermint, and then I replanted these 2 Aerogardens. Now these I'm leaving until the weekend. I'll be transplanting these out this weekend. Those are eggplant seedlings for a variety called Little Fingers that make small, thin, finger-sized to about 6 inches, dark blackish purple eggplants. And the plant can grow in a pot, so it's a good variety for a pot. I grew them last year and they were productive. They were productive from late spring, early summer, all the way into well into November. So I'm definitely growing them again this year, but it's not quite time for them to go into their starter pots. They need a few more days, I think. And this little thing here is a Corsican mint, as is this back here. And I've got a pot to put those in, but I'll probably wait and do it this weekend. So, and then I'll replant those. Those are a really neat plant. Really neat plant. They spread and it's really low to the ground. I'll show you the finished plant when I get these little seedlings planted. But yeah, that's it for today. I'm done. I'm going to sit out here and enjoy the afternoon until it's time to go inside.